Hi everyone, my name is Rosales, and today I'll be presenting to everyone my project, Where's the Bear? Implementing machine learning-based image recognition for animal detection. I work under the mentorship of Nevna and Golubovich. My advisors are Chandra Krims and Rich Wolski, and I'm working for the race lab under the computer science department. I want everyone to look closely at this picture. What you see in the picture, I'll give everyone a hint. You should see an animal in the picture. There's an animal hidden in that picture, but it's very hard for us humans to see this animal because animals are really good at hiding in the wilderness. I'll give you guys a few more seconds to look at this image. Hopefully, everyone saw the animal in the picture. Personally, it took me a long time to see it. Turns out the leopard was stalking me this whole time. Good thing that this was not real life, because that would have been very bad. The truth is, animal counting and animal surveillance is very inefficient. It's also expensive and inaccurate because of human error, and it takes a lot of human hours to complete. But what if we could use a computer to do all this heavy work for us? Using a computer would help us reduce the manual labor cost, increase data reliability, and save human hours. The first goal of my project is to create a framework that recognizes images, that recognizes animals if they given an image, as you can see here. Here we have a bear in the picture, so ideally we want our framework to say that the output is bear. And for an empty image, we want our framework to say the output is none. These images are taken at animal reserve called the Sedgwick Reserve, and we've set up a system that takes pictures with cameras that are motion triggered, so anytime anything in front of the camera moves, a picture like this will be taken and sent to us. For this task, we're using convolutional neural networks. They're a type of machine learning that mimic the way humans analyze images. I'm using this type of machine learning framework because it's been proven to be significantly better at recognizing images and learning from images. As you can see here, this chart represents the two current best handwritten characters, optical character recognition frameworks out there, GoogleNet and AlexNet, which both scored almost 100% accuracy in recognizing handwritten numbers. So let's take a look and see how convolutional neural networks classify images. So here we have a simple classification task. Is this a dog or a cat? For us, it's very easy to tell. It's a dog, but for a computer, it requires a complex analyzing process. The process starts by having the picture of the animal, of the dog, go to a picture extractor that for now will create as a black box because it's not relevant to our purposes. The features from the image then gets mapped into something called the input layer, and these features are further mapped into the characteristic layers until it reaches the output layer. In this case, our framework recognized that the picture as dog as it should have. So we'll take the same framework idea, we'll use a pre-trained convolutional neural network model that's already trained on several categories. Using a pre-trained model has several classes of things. For example, if we give our model this image of a deer, it'll run through the whole process and give several outputs because it's been trained by default on several classes, not only animals. There's tree, deer, and pond, but we don't care about tree or pond. We only care about deer because our task is to only identify the animal in the picture. So for this, we modified the output layer. We retrain the output layer in order to only get the results that we care about. In this case, the output layer successfully filtered all the results but deer. So for my first experiment, we ran this model through 12,210 images. We repeated the process that I explained previously, and these are the results after classifying this amount of images. I used a convolutional neural network called TensorFlow, and the top category of TensorFlow after recognizing all those images were mountain tent was 38% of the recognition categories. Then followed by barrel, mountain bike with 10%, and gazelle with 9%. So these results don't look very accurate because they're not. There's not 38% of my tents out there where we have our cameras placed. So we need to do something to boost its accuracy. What I did is I retrained the model as I explained previously. After retraining the model, we have a much better, more accurate set of results. After retraining TensorFlow with 4 categories, I retrained the data set with 107 images of bears, 489 images of deer, 259 coyote images, and 21 empty images. The result that I got after analyzing the same amount of images, and they're the same data set, were a lot more accurate. For example, we know that there's a lot of deer out there in the Sacred Reserve, so it makes sense to have 19% of animal detection for deer. Also, we know that there's quite a few coyotes out there, so 3% makes sense. And we also know that there's 2 family of bears out there in the Sacred Reserve, so it makes sense to only have 0.5% of bears in the results. After comparing both of these 2 results and running the accuracy on both of them, I found out that the average accuracy for the untrained model was 35%. After the retraining, it boosted the accuracy almost double to 73%. As you can see, every single category went up in accuracy as well. We want to be able to take this data from the image recognition framework and combine it with metadata from the same image. Metadata is just extra information that comes from the picture, such as date and time and temperature. We want to do this in order to learn more about animal species and to learn more about their environments and pretty much just to have eyes in the wilderness and to understand the wilderness better. So in order to extract our metadata from the images, we can simply get our time and date from the exit data, as we can see here. Exit data is simply data that comes from every time you take a picture, it's automatically generated. So it's just for one line of code to extract this data. But however, the exit data does not have temperature data. So we have to get this by using OCR, or optical character recognition. In order to automatically obtain the temperature digits, as we can see here, we need to have a machine do it for us. But however, a machine does not know what each one of these numbers mean. So we have to teach this computer what the numbers mean by getting every number from the same font family and labeling them one by one, telling the computer what each one of the numbers represent. After this, the computer is going to know what each one of the numbers from the same font family mean. So if it ever comes across a number from the same font family, it's going to compare it with the unknown number and find which one's the nearest in similarity. So we have 3 different cameras at the Sacred Reserve. Camera 1, camera 2, and camera 3. And each one of these cameras have different family font for temperature. So before I came to this project, all these 3 different type of fonts went into an unknown classifier. And this caused a lot of errors. For example, a 9 would be often classified as an 8, a 7 would be classified as a 1. And however, my new approach is to take the OCR and have its data tailored to a specific font family. So each different font family is going to have its own separate data set that it refers to when comparing an unknown number to. After analyzing the accuracy of the previous OCR versus the new OCR, I found some interesting results. The previous OCR is, for the accuracy, recognized 4 out of 20 images, temperature images correctly, while the new OCR recognized 100% of the numbers correctly. And for time efficiency, the previous OCR took around 250 seconds to complete the reading of analyzing 20 images, while the new OCR took about a fifth of that time, about 50 seconds. The next steps on my project is to keep improving our machine learning model with new labeled data in order to boost the accuracy better, as we saw in the previous on the previous demonstration. We also want to move all this to the cloud in order to have it be automatic, completely automatic without the need of human interaction. And with that, I'd like to thank the audience, and I'd like to give some special thanks to my mentor, Nevena, my advisors, Chandra Trins and Rich Wolski, for allowing me to work in their lab, and to Stephanie for coordinating this program, and to all the CCF staff for setting this up for us. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
So I'm a biochemistry major, so I don't know much about like the computer science, but I'm really interested in computer science and how it works. So for like the methods, when you kind of visualize the machine learning, I guess, like do you cut the photos into fragments and then like create like code to detect like what each like pixels represent? Or
so for you, are you talking about the animal recognition? Or
yeah, animal recognition.
So I used a tool already. It's called a model already made for us called TensorFlow. It's made by Google. Recognizes images if you train it and recognizes certain images. So I pretty much I retrained the TensorFlow to recognize images, and by training I mean I just gave it a bunch of pictures, ears, bunch of pictures, bear and stuff. So it's gonna detect patterns in these images. Yeah. So maybe it's gonna see that bears are fluffy or have pointy ears, and it's gonna take those features and save them and say, okay, bears have these features, and every time it comes across a picture of another bear that is not on its database, it's gonna see, okay, this image is the most similar to the bear because its features are the most similar to this.
Yeah. And I also have oh, like could you detect the temperature of like the picture, like by how bright it is, or how are you?
Oh, good question. I was able to detect it by, so I had I give the model a picture like this, and then I detect the edges, and when detecting the edges, I'm able to put box around it, so every time it comes across a picture, it's going to have the boxes put around the exact same way, so every picture is going to be an exact replica of the other, because it's always the exact same, because all the dimensions are always the same behind the edges, and I can also ignore things that have like small area like these, so it only focuses on the numbers. And I labeled it manually, and you can recognize them later. Oh, Ian?
How do you deal with like the orientation of like the animal with like respect to the game? Because like I'd imagine like it'd be easy if you looked at like the face or something, like the butt.
Well, for that, I think the best solution that we have right now is to have the most diverse set of training data as we can. So we want to have training data, all angles of the bear. We want to have training data that sees the bear like in all angles or as better as possible, so we can recognize any kind of position. Michael?
And how much of an impact does the size of the training data set have on the runtime of the algorithm? Like if you train it with a really big data set, of course it will be very accurate, but is there a time cost associated with that?
I have not looked into that, but that will be something that I will look into.
So I guess I have a follow-up on Ian's question. Assuming that you can create such a robust image recognition software, what's the, like, is there a long-term goal that this could be to satellite images? You know, nowadays Google Earth is so amazing. Instead of having deployed cameras out in the Centric Reserve, like places with a lot of open land, could we theoretically get satellite images to do this as well if the resolution is good enough?
That would be, I think, very hard because of all the trees and stuff covering animals. But as for applications go, I was just thinking about some applications of this could be maybe have this kind of setup on camping places. So maybe we could have a real-time sensor that tells everyone, okay, at this moment of time, there's a bear at a certain place of the camp. So we could make camps better to camp in. Oh, Those are hard. So what I'm thinking of probably doing for smaller animals is cropping everything around it, so it only focuses on the animal itself and not the surroundings, and then doing a whole training set with those, doing the same process for recognition.
Thank you, Randy.